IVM.
Hi, welcome to Fintalks at Bob World, presented by Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. I'm your host, Akhil H, Chief Digital Officer at the bank. Working at Bank of Baroda, I get to be aware of a lot of excitement around fintechs that goes around. One term that has recently come up quite a lot in discussions and is at the forefront is the Robo Wealth Advisory. So, what exactly is the Robo Wealth Advisory? Is it as mythical as a unicorn? But in the same sense, is it also realistic? So, we'll demystify this with an expert that we have today. We have Prateek Mehta, who's a co-founder and chief business officer at Scripbox. So let's cut into it and have a discussion with Prateek. So Prateek, welcome to FinTalks at Bob World.
Hey Akhil, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So Prateek, as we get the conversation rolling, why don't we first talk a little bit about Scriptbox and you? So
Sure.
let's start about your journey. So you actually are a founder of a fintech company that you sold it over to Scriptbox very successfully. So why don't you tell our listeners something about that?
Sure. So I have been a consumer internet professional for the last 10, 12 years, right? And in the early part of my career, I used to be a banker, but over the years, I developed conviction that the world will move to the digital part, and literally every consumer state will get solved via tech. And hence that was my transition into the world of consumer internet. Somewhere in 2014, 2015, I started thinking about the fact that most Indians save, but they don't know what to do with their money. Most of the money used to find their way into real estate, gold, fixed deposits. And I had seen this happen over and over again with family, with friends, and with people who ideally should have been investing almost as soon as they started earning, but somehow they never got onto it. And as I spent time talking to friends, family members, I realized that there were multiple problems in that entire chain. There was a problem of discovery, wherein where do I start? What do I invest in? Or what do I even do with my money? Then, if I was able to get to a point of discovery, the problem where I struggled was a problem of assimilation, data assimilation, absorbing the data and coming to a decision. And what typically happened was that most people got onto platforms which were heavy on data, tables, graphs, and they just could not make any sense out of it. And even if they made any sense out of it, got to a point wherein they felt comfortable about a decision, or at least felt semi-comfortable, they were never confident that that is the right thing to do for themselves. And even if they got beyond that hump and started transacting, started investing, they had the more hairy part of ongoing management. And the good quality wealth management was accessible only above a certain affluence level. And in India, that level has gone up consistently, right? We've seen it used to be in a couple of crores, it went to above 5 crores. Now it seems that good quality wealth management is available only to people who have more than 10 crores to invest, right? And the fact is that that will always remain the case, because the ability of the industry to add trained human beings who can really understand, absorb your need states and create solutions is extremely weak. But wealth accumulation and saving accumulation in the country is happening at a great pace. And hence the belief that I had was that this is a problem that begets solving. And like a person who falls in love with a problem, I decided to move on from my job and started upwardly. So that's the story of how I got into this space. And over the years, and specifically in 2019, Scriptbox and us, we got talking and had a great respect for what the team at Scriptbox had already building and had built. And between us, we felt that we had the same value system and the same ambition for our customers and same vision on what we wanted to build in this space. So decided to join hands. And as Helen Keller says, right, together we can do far more. And that was essentially the guiding principle behind this. Yeah.
Sure, fantastic, lovely journey. So tell us more about Scriptbox. What is Scriptbox? Of course, we know the reason of existence now,
Yeah,
but also about its exciting product offering.
sure. So I think Scriptbox, like any startup, is a work in process, right? So we started a certain point in time, and we have continuously been evolving. So when we started off, I think the clear insight was that people save, but they don't know what to do with their money. They get overwhelmed when they hit the information websites. They get overwhelmed when they talk to their bank manager or a wealth manager who might come to them. Can we?
No, I feel hurt.
I know that was a bit loaded, but not at Bank of Baroda, but I'm talking about the other banks. But
No, no,
nonetheless,
no.
yeah. So the deal was that there's too much of confusion. Can we just simplify, right? And the product was directed at people who are still early in their cycle of wealth. So we had a curated portfolio of funds for your long term financial goals and the short term financial goals, and most people got started with that. Over the last few years, we realized that our customers, as they started accumulating more wealth and as they started saving more money, their needs changed. What also changed was their personal context. They went from being single to complicated to
Hmm.
engaged to married to kids and so on, right? Similarly in the careers, things change a lot, right? From the first job to second job, they suddenly started becoming more senior in their jobs. They were saving more, and their need states started looking a little more complex to them. And over a period of time, we have evolved into a more holistic wealth management platform. And
Hmm.
today, if you look at it, our focus, while we serve customer across the board, we've realized that at the point of starting your investments, that problem is more or less becoming easier because there are a bunch of transaction platforms which are out there, which are
Hmm.
solving the problem of access and discovery. And our core promise is that we are custodians of wealth, right? We are here for customers to not only save and accumulate and create wealth, but help them do it on an ongoing basis. And broadly, the offering is directed at people who are looking at a help me do it or do it for me kind of offering. And hence, the focus area for us, as far as now clients are concerned, are people who. So we now look at people up to 10 crores in on the wealth management pie. We realize that there's a huge gulf as people start saving more, as they start becoming more affluent. The kind of service that they deserve versus the kind of service that they get, there's a big gap, and that's the gap that we're trying to plug.
Sure. So are you offering some of the quirky services like some wealth managers are offering across the industry, and I was looking at somebody offering a visa relocation service.
Yeah,
Is
so
that also part of the offering?
not as of now, but I know
Sure.
that there are a lot of Indians looking for that at this point in time. And there are various drivers. But if clients want it, we'll enable it, right? So the belief is that the needs of our clients evolve, and we need to be there as their needs evolve, right? So visa relocation, of course, is something that we don't do right now. But if we see a sizable number of clients wanting something like that, we'll enable it. And as I said, we are always a work in process, and we try to keep pace with the needs of our clients. And that's essentially the reason why, if you look at the Scriptbox of 2015 was different from Scriptbox of 2018 was different from the Scriptbox of 21, right? And the essential reason is that we've let customers be our guides and mentors on this journey, and we try and keep pace with what they need, and we try and anticipate what they might need in the future, and at least try and make that available, hopefully in time. Yeah.
Sure. Very Steve Jobs like.
Yeah, I know. Good to channelize his energy into this conversation.
Absolutely. So if
Yeah.
not moving the person, relocating him, how about relocating his money? Do you offer an international investment product?
I think that's become an imperative now, right? Because what is happening is that for a lot of our clients and in general, a lot of need states are getting created in foreign currency. Either they have aspiration for their kids to study abroad, and if they have family abroad, there might be extended periods in their life that they might want to spend outside India with their loved ones, maybe before retirement, maybe after retirement, maybe in their old age. And there's a certain requirement that a lot of our more affluent clients are they need to solve, right? There's a need state that beggars solving, and they're actively looking to manage and solve it. And that's something that has been imperative we were one of the first people to launch the international investing options on the platform. When DSP came with their US feeder fund, we were quite excited by the product. Of course, the theme out or the base product out there was also very exciting. Similarly, the Franklin US feeder fund, we were quite excited by that, and we see there is a both a customer need and and a natural requirement for the customers to have it, right? Uh, Professor Schiller, right? He made this a statement way back now, right? Because his book came a few decades back, but he made this a statement that most people, right, literally 98% of investors, never look outside their base geography, while wealth is getting created and value is getting created across the globe. And I think the investor of today needs to benefit from wherever value creation is happening. So we'll see more and more people wanting to invest in international themes. We've already enabled. Right now, we are mainly focused at the US economy, but there are interesting themes which are emerging across the globe, right? And for example,
Yeah.
a global tech theme is a very interesting theme. And right now, there isn't a global tech theme available in the country, but I'm hoping some manufacturer is listening to this and they'll create one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the there's enough value getting created globally, and there's no reason why the Indian investor of today should stay aloof, right?
Yeah.
We need to
No,
invest.
yeah. Right. No, in fact, I think, with the kind of IPO pipeline that we have, it's just a matter of time by where we will have this Indian tech thematic as well. And
Absolutely,
yeah, and it's just a matter of time. But you're right. I mean, look, if there's a fundamental ability to be able to manufacture and provide access to various investment opportunities across the globe, it could be maybe clean energy in the European market, technology in the US, manufacturing in Africa, right, materials in Australia. I think it can be very powerful, of course, and this is like global capital allocation that is actually has been the exclusive domain of uh, institutional investors, right,
absolutely.
and that too, of a very, very large global scale. And if that comes to the retail investor, that is true democratization of investments in all its respects. So that's very powerful. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a very today most Indians are aware of international companies products because they're using them
Yeah,
firsthand, right? And you can invest $1,000 and you can own partial equity in a company like Apple or Alphabet or wherever. It's not a bad thing to do. Yeah,
correct, correct. Absolutely. That resonates also because you're a user of those products, so you trust those companies a lot more. True. So, who's buying the story of Scriptbox right now in terms of investment? What does your traction in terms of your customer base look like?
so at a broad level, we have customers spread across 2,500 towns and cities in the country, more than 100 cities globally because we have a lot of diaspora clients as well. And if you look at assets, we manage a bit north of 4,100 crores today, right?
Hmm.
And we've seen a significant traction over the last 2-3 years, and that has primarily happened because of three reasons. One is that a lot more customers are thinking of investment and wealth creation in a structured way, and they're not thinking about just getting started or making a few transactions, but they realize that they need professionals to take care of their wealth, and
Hmm.
they like our ethos and the way the product and the service is being constructed. The other one is a lot of our existing customers, as they have graduated through their own cycle of wealth, they have given us or entrusted us with more of their savings and more of their wealth, right? And that has worked out really well for us. We have an NPS of north of 54, and that's at least in our space is as world class as it gets. And the third one is that is the piece that I alluded to earlier, right? Our customers have told us that they want offerings or solutions to problems, and we have tried to keep pace with that. I won't say that we have always kept pace with that because that would be a difficult one to do, but at least we've tried.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's perfect. And I think with the kind of numbers that you have and the interest in the in the whole wealth ecosystem that we have from the customers, and their education awareness is only bound to grow. Which brings me to a question around the methodology that you adopt to build these investment portfolios or to suggest investments. And there is, of course, there is probably some algorithm at the back end looking at some profiling, um, and so, if you can just talk us through that, and B, how does it really compare with human advisors and wealth allocators?
Sure. So if I share that, I'll have to fly down to Bombay and kill you. But nonetheless, I'll go ahead. So that's of course the secret sauce, right? So from an approach perspective, the approach is broadly about mitigating risks and getting customers to realize the financial outcomes that they desire for themselves, right? So broadly, we see our role as wealth managers at two levels. One is people who mitigate risk for our clients and keep them from taking undue risk on their portfolios, right? And especially in today's time when the markets are going crazy and literally every stock seems to be hitting their lifetime highs, right? You have to really keep your customers away and clients away from exuberance, right? Which is often irrational in these times. And so broad approach out there is be conservative, play in the profit pool and the value creator, consistent value creators in the space, and make sure that the asset allocation for the clients is right. And broadly, that's where we play, and our algos are optimized for this, right? Whether it is equities, whether it is debt, whether it is direct stocks, whether it is other products. That's what we try and do all the time. For example, this we say very proudly that our debt algos, we have built our own credit scoring mechanism, and none of our customers was impacted by the credit risk crisis that happened a few quarters back in the country. Not a single rupee got stuck, right?
Very powerful.
Yeah, and that essentially also means once you're mitigating risk, what you're also promising to the customers is that we will never be the best returns in the industry. So we are not in the that we want to give you the best returns. We are in the business of giving you returns that are adequate and enough. So in that कितना देती है, the answer is काफी देती है. It is not कि सबसे ज्यादा देती है. It's like it should be enough, because eventually risk and reward or risk and returns go hand in hand, and our life outcomes are often tied to our financial outcomes, and our job is to make sure that the outcomes are met and not to deliver any kind of thrill in the short term.
Well, sure. And while we are at it, so what would be a few tips that you would like to offer to the listeners? Hopefully something that they've not heard before. Maybe the top two things that they should keep in mind considering where the market is now.
So I think one is that, and this might sound like platitudes, but they are platitudes for a reason. So I'll still share them on this chat, right? So one is that investing is a long-term game, right? So you have to be patient and you have to have a long horizon, because in the short term things will go up, things will go down, things that you do not expect will happen. But the reality is that specifically if you look at companies which are creating value, whether Indian or not, and if they are solid players in their industry, they will add value and create value. So if you're in the right funds, if you're in the right themes, and if you're in the right economies and sectors, value will get created, but you have to be patient. You can't fast forward or make decisions on the basis of what is hot right now and what is topical right now. And hence, stay away from topical themes, things that are very volatile, especially for the bulk of your wealth and bulk of your investments, right? So that's number one. And in that sense, have a long enough horizon, right? A 10-year, 15-year, 20-year horizon is a great horizon to have, because the Indian economy is still a young economy. It will continue to create value. We have a lot of resilience in terms of local demand. We have a lot of resilience in the kind of global enterprises that now seem to be getting created in the Indian economy. And we're seeing that as you alluded to earlier, there's a strong IPO pipeline, and I see, at least as an entrepreneur, I see a lot of exciting things coming by over the years. So I think it will be very interesting for a regular investor, right, to just partake and benefit from that. So be patient, have a long investment horizon. The other one I would say is stay away from adventures, right? So, and the reason why I say this is that investing is supposed to be boring. It is not there for to provide thrill to you, right? For seeking thrill, depending on the kind of thrill that works. So you might do skydiving, you might go for a trek, you might do mountaineering, bungee jumping, or then bunch of other stuff that you can do, right? But seeking thrill via your hard-earned money is not the great thing to do. Of course, money is also serves utility. So 3, 4, 5% of your savings you want to deploy in stuff to learn about it. It's perfectly fine, right? But that should be money that you're absolutely comfortable losing, and where you have expectations of no returns, right? If something comes by, great. But I think anything beyond 3, 5%, taking a large exposure to something which is volatile or very topical might not be the best thing to do. Yeah. So yeah, yeah.
So, Prateek, spoken like the Oracle of Bangalore.
You, I'm not sure whether that's a compliment backhanded or not. But
It is absolutely a compliment, and getting into the league of the Oracle. But okay, so let me put you in a tighter spot here. You've had an easy one. What's your take on bitcoins and crypto? Seems that half the world is going gaga and crazy over investments there. Are these really investments?
So as I said, for me personally, I think of them in
The thrill part.
in the thrill and the learn part, right? But see, I think blockchain is a revolutionary technology, right? So that will change a lot of things in the future. The way business is done, the way contracts are executed, bunch of things. I think that has a lot of potential. We've not seen a lot of adoption yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. Crypto, on the other hand, at least right now, is not a regulated product, right? And that is by design. It's not a bug; it's a feature of that. So the way I think of it today is that you have 3, 4, 5% of your net worth tied up in crypto, absolutely no issues, right? But anything more than that might impact your financial outcomes and might impact your aspirations that you have for yourself. So I think you need to. It's okay to play in that, but need to don't think of it as investments, and don't think of it as something that will get you to financial nirvana, right? Because we have all seen that it's an extremely volatile category, and as an asset class, it might become an asset class of the future. It might not, right? So there's a bit of risk associated with that, and hence you need to limit your exposure. And whether if you're comfortable with that kind of volatility, take an exposure. If you're not, then stay away from it, because it is going to give you a lot of heartache.
And is that what your algorithm suggests now?
Oh, this is just me talking. Yeah, this.
Yeah. Had you said algorithm, I would have said, boss, this is hand waving.
Yeah, this is just me talking. Yeah, I know you threw a tough one at me, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm blocking it carefully.
No, I think that's a very reasonable comment to offer, and this is a serious business. It may be boring as well, and that is how it is supposed to be. This is not something to be played around with. Of course, there'll always be shenanigans who would like to go out all guns blazing and try out a few things. But there are better ways to get that thrill. Casinos being one of them. They're legalized in some parts of the country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the listeners who would like to get that, they should feel free to it. Why invite the enforcement directorate to your doorstep, getting that thrill. So
no, absolutely.
Great. Now, we talked about the IPOs and you being an entrepreneur. I'm very sure there are plans that Scripbox has. So what is the plan for Scriptbox? Are you going to IPO in this hot season or next year or when?
So I think we'll IPO when we are ready. So I think so we have, as a company, we've been on 100% CAGR for years now. Last 18 months, we got a few things right. Some of the things that we did, our customers really liked. So that was we were absolutely on a tear over the last 18 months. We more than tripled. We are hoping to continue this trajectory. If we are able to do more things that our customers like, we are hoping to be a much larger player in not so distant future. So hopefully getting to 30 to 50,000 crores over the next 3 to 4 years in terms of assets that we manage. If we get the execution right, seems in the realm of possibility, right? And if we
Sure.
get there, I think, and when we get there, we will definitely seek more public scrutiny in terms of how we run the company and the value that we are trying to build. Right, we'll definitely want to uh, uh,
Sure.
sh- get more institutional scrutiny and more public scrutiny in the business at that point in time.
Sure. And looking at that kind of scaling up, that's almost a 10 times scaling you're talking about. What are the key challenges you see in that scaling?
So I think the first one out there is essentially staying relevant to our customers and getting more of those, right? So and our customers, like any customer in the country or otherwise, they need a state change, their context change, right? So staying relevant to them and continuing to solve what they need and the problems that they get solving for them. Uh, that's number one. The other one is building the right stack in terms of solutions, right? So uh, we have uh, uh, we have shied away, or I won't say shied away. We've stayed away from adding too much complexity on the platform. But there's a time and a space and a need for everything. So how do we bring the right amount of complexity at the right point in time for our customers? That's the other one. And the third one would be essentially expanding the customer base at a much faster pace, right? And
Hmm.
there, because wealth is a business of trust, the element of establishing a brand as a trusted brand in this space, which is known outside the metros and outside the tech hubs, I think is a very important part of our execution. So building the brand and uh, establishing it as a trusted brand in the country, I think that would be an important one for us.
Sure. And it is turning out to be a very crowded space as well. And you see a new player emerging every week. And how do you plan to stay a step ahead of them? And because
The way,
the larger you will get, the more there will be some level of I would say not sloppiness, but there will be more baggage to take along, and it may slow you down in your tracks.
well, that's a great question, Akhil, and I appreciate you asking this. So the way we look at the market is
And I ask it because we face this every day, Prateek.
no. Thanks for the warning.
114 years in the business.
I know we can learn a lot from your book, but yeah. So when we look at the market at two levels, Akhil, one is the bunch of transaction players which are there in the market. What they are doing is they are making it more convenient, faster for the customers, and cheaper for the customers to get started, right? And uh, that's one part of the overall pie, wherein customers who are comfortable with the do-it-yourself kind of a mode are gravitating towards those platforms. And um and depending on who you are, there is always a threshold of wealth where you end up feeling that I need professional assistance, right? And for some people, it is 50,000 rupees. For some people, it's 5 lakh rupees. For some people, it's 5 crores. For some people, it might be 500 crores. But at every wealth threshold, or for every person who's accumulating wealth, there is a certain threshold beyond which they think that they need professional help. So we think of ourselves in the professional help category. And today, if we look at that space, on the tech platform side, there aren't too many, right? There are a couple, uh, and we respect them, right? I think there a large part of a competition we see uh, is uh, is the traditional space, right? Which is people who historically help people get started and have been custodian of wealth. And what we are seeing is that digital wealth manager proposition currently seems to hold a lot of currency with our customers, especially if you are able to keep pace with what they need. And for us to stay nimble and stay true to our calling, what we've been trying to do is we have, if I look at the org level, we have created teams and squads as we call them, to solve for a specific need states in a very deep way, right? Where we believe we want to own certain need states and we want to solve them. We will never be everything for everyone, because we realize that that's a difficult one to do. We will always be a valuable assistant for the customer who needs help, and there we want to assist across need states, and that's how we are thinking about it, right? We will the depth of execution will come from our own understanding of the need states and our ability to execute on that. And that's how we're thinking about it. We do not think of it, frankly, as a very crowded space. I know that there are a bunch of invest tech platforms which are there. We don't think there are too many wealth tech platforms which are there, right?
Sure. No, that's a nice way to think about it. Great. Well, so Prateek, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. So thank you for tuning in. This was Fintalks at Bob World, presented by Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. Hope this series was of help to everyone listening in. So do get us in touch and send us feedback and suggestions as to what you'd like us to cover in future episodes. That's it for now, folks. I am Akhil Handa, and this has been Fintalks at Bob World. Thank you.
Thanks, Akhil. It's a pleasure having a conversation with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Prateek. Thank you very much for coming on.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On The Longest Constitution with Priya, get a closer look at laws that protect our children from sexual abuse. Ash and Doctor join Sadaf and Harchit on Nankari to talk about the mental and physical benefits of intermittent fasting. On Misconduct, Raghavi and Nisha tell us how Seema Parihar went from being a bandit to a Big Boss contestant. On The Fighting Goat, Arjun and Somesh talk to Ranjit Ravindran about how mixed martial arts as a sport got so popular in India. And on This Round Is On Me with Gauri, Chef Aarti Sampath shares her experience of cooking for Prime Minister Modi when he was in the US. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the word about a podcast. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Ciet Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intuit India. We really do appreciate the support. You are what makes this possible.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Tugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.